These are, I guess, transvestigators. They are people who believe that all celebrities are transgender. All of them. Cause all my life I've been a trail nigga.
Welcome back to Last of the Trail. I'm your humble host, Eagle Moon, and I'm here to go over another installment download from myself to you all, the general public. I'm just like you, right? In a sense, how I go online, I go on YouTube and I go over these videos and I surf the interwebs. And there's a lot of information, both useful and destructive. There's a whole network of disinformation, their whole programming for disinformation and incorrect and backwards information, and agents who push and propagate such false information. And for that reason, I feel that we have to, as a collective, all those who are not hiding in the dark, waiting for a victim, panhandling online, blah blah blah, whatever that really means, not even asking but suggestion, or making a suggestion, if those who want to help you or those who want to support you to be able to have access to you or a medium to do that. So I don't think that that's a big issue. But for those who utilize this information, especially free information, free for the public information, as some kind of a crux for you to vampirize unsuspecting truth seekers, who are looking for, so simply information that can guide them, and information that can inform them, or information that can enlighten them. I don't charge anything for that. I am beyond irritated with those online, not only online but in the public. Like, goodness gracious, we have people like, I'm glad that we could see this online now, but the same people who we see online scamming people online are these are the same so-called men and women who go into schools. They go into job professions, what I'm saying? These are the same guys who, I've seen a lot of different, scammers make their way into all kinds of positions. You might have a damn president, even all the way up to a president of a country who does not fit the qualifications, who has not fulfilled the requirements for their seat of office. And there's rules, there's particular continuancies and provisions that are outlined in these positions to give this position the authority, or appeared authority, because they have followed procedure.
It doesn't take a sophisticate to see that God is bull. I'm a philosopher. I'm a philosopher. Someone with an IQ of 80 could probably work that out for themselves if they weren't brainwashed. Just got wrecked. Philosophy and religion and theology. Wrecked.
You're probably wondering what in the world that was that you just witnessed. That, my friends, is what we call a atheist in its natural habitat. As you see, they startle pretty easily. Now, atheists are the kind of internet atheists that exude serious amounts of arrogance and ignorance, and usually lack the ability to talk about God without cursing or throwing temper tantrums. Now, of course, all atheists aren't this way, which is why we have the athememers. But if you're more of a visual learner, I can't think of a better example of an atheist than good old TJ Kirk. TJ runs the YouTube channel called The Amazing Atheist, which has over 1 million subscribers, which sounds pretty impressive until you realize how many people have gotten their heads stuck in a bucket at some point in their lives. Earlier, I came across a video from TJ where he was talking about Dr. William Lane Craig, and I just knew I had to respond to this one. So today, we're going to have another lesson of why you shouldn't learn about philosophy or theology from your favorite atheist YouTuber. this is your first time here, go ahead and hit that sub button. And meme team, you guys ready? Then let's go!
Back to an earlier point, if I may, too, and that is the notion that atheists are somehow the intelligentsia among us and so forth. I think this is just completely false. The spate of new books published by the new atheists like Harris and Hitchens and Dawkins and so forth are not sophisticated books intellectually. These are, for the most part, angry, bitter diatribes against religion. And while someone like Dawkins may be a good scientist in his field, when he begins to talk about philosophy and theology, he is merely a layman. And the God delusion...
Yeah, he's not enough of an expert on made-up bullshit, you know? Philosophy and religion and theology.
Right. Well, I guess it helps here to know what philosophy actually is. According to a quick search on Google Dictionary, philosophy is the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline. So people who need help thinking clearly about things like knowledge, existence, and reality, they could actually benefit a lot from philosophy or studying philosophy. Because the harder time that TJ has given a coherent take on all three of those things, the more obvious it is that he needs to study philosophy, and coincidentally, the less he'll realize it. Now keep that in mind as we continue to hear his personal philosophy about why he doesn't need philosophy.
Okay, so everyone has a philosophy. Despite what the academics would have you believe, it's not just for them. It's not just for people who've studied, you know, the symposium and It's not just for people who've read Wittgenstein. It's for everybody. Everybody's got some kind of philosophy. Anyone is qualified to talk about philosophy. You can agree with it or disagree with it, but its level of sophistication doesn't really have anything to do with anything. To me, saying I'm a philosopher is just saying I'm a human being that can rub two brain cells together, you know?
Nah, playa, I don't know, because that ain't helping your argument. Think about it this way. What if I said, everyone uses logic. All you need is a human being who can rub two brain cells together. Nobody needs training from logicians because everyone uses logic. You'd probably say something like, well, yeah, it's true that everyone uses logic. Just because everyone uses it doesn't mean that everyone is equally good at it. Everyone uses English, but then again, you hear things like this.
Wait, why is that guy interviewed is trying to pretend he is smarter than what he sounds?
So by getting training in logic, you learn how to think correctly and learn how to actually use it better. Same could be said about philosophy. But there's another point to this too. TJ says that anyone is qualified to talk about philosophy.
Anyone is qualified to talk about philosophy. You can agree with it or disagree with it, but its level of sophistication doesn't really have anything to do with anything.
Again, yeah, it's true that anyone can do some philosophy in the same way that anyone can do some math. Even though everyone can, there's still some math that a layperson isn't equipped to deal with. In the same way, there's some philosophy that everyone's not really equipped to deal with. Now, I want you to notice something. Notice how TJ mocks philosophy similar to the same way that Dawkins mocked philosophy in The God Delusion. And look where it led him. Turn to page 84 in The God Delusion, or if you have a paperback, it's page number 108. And here we read Dawkins saying, I've forgotten the details, but I once piqued the gathering of theologians and philosophers by adapting the ontological argument to prove that pigs can fly. They felt the need to resort to modal logic to prove that I was wrong. Now, ironically, Dawkins has been sipping on so much hate theade that he didn't even know that the ontological argument is actually an exercise in modal logic. That's like someone leaving a group of biologists and then saying, those biologists resorted to using microscopes to prove that I was wrong about the cell, and then being so arrogant in their ignorance that they actually walked away proud of it, patting themselves on the back. I bet those philosophers had a pretty good laugh after Dawkins walked away feeling accomplished. This is why you might recall me talking about how the atheist philosopher Michael Roos said that Dawkins would fail any introductory philosophy of religion course. And I think he's right, and so would TJ.
I mean, like I said, everyone can be a philosopher. Everyone has a philosophy. You have a philosophy, I have a philosophy. Most of us don't dwell on it or act like it's our f***ing profession.
Yeah, so two things. Now, first, TJ said, most of us don't dwell on it, which of course is something that I would personally encourage him to do because I think that he would significantly benefit from it, which will become more and more evident as this video goes on. And then he goes on to say, and act like it's our profession. So what's wrong with that argument? Could it be that, I don't know, that Craig is actually a philosopher by profession, so he isn't acting like anything? I mean, I don't go around acting as if I make videos because I make videos. And Craig doesn't go around acting like philosophy is his profession because it is? I guess we can also ask the question why TJ doesn't go around acting like philosophy is his profession. My first thought is maybe it's because this is the kind of reaction he would get. And secondly, and probably the most reasonable answer is, I don't know, probably because philosophy obviously isn't his profession. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think that TJ is a really dumb or bad thinker. I just lack evidence in the belief that TJ is
someone with an IQ of 80.
Maybe you're watching and maybe you're thinking, you know what? I actually really want some more evidence that TJ would actually benefit from an introductory philosophy class. Well, look no more. Let's hear what TJ has to say about his personal philosophy about life.
Yeah, I think the concept of balance is bullshit. I think that psychologically it appeals to people, but it doesn't actually have a whole lot of practical merit. You know, oh, I'm gonna find balance. You know, life is not about balance. Life is chaos.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I mean, who needs balance? Certainly not the guy who literally balanced his audio levels before publishing his video, right? But what about the need for psychological balance? Who needs that? I can't think of anyone. But if we find ourselves under the delusion that there isn't any need for psychological balance, and as a consequence we find ourselves in prison or a psych ward, how many fractions of a second do you think that it will take to realize the need for psychological balance? Well, I guess the answer to that question just depends on how much psychological balance you need in order to realize that things aren't exactly balanced in prison or the psych ward. But never mind psychological balance, TJ claims to love science, right? TJ tells us that life isn't about balance, but science tells us that our life quite literally depends on the incomprehensibly delicate balance of a bunch of fine-tuned constants and quantities. So yeah, life quite literally depends on balance. Now on a side note, you ever notice how atheists love the virtue signal by saying how much they love science, but they'll throw it out the window faster than you can say if it means ridiculing Christians. But never mind that. Let's just go ahead and keep it moving.
Illusion is a very unsophisticated book intellectually. As a philosopher, I was just appalled at the arguments he gives in that
I'm a philosopher!
It is
I'm a philosopher!
An embarrassment, really, I think.
Well, I can agree, and I suspect Michael...
Don't quit your day
I
job.
think he would too.
You mean his day job as a professional philosopher? Okay, I don't think he will. It's a weird thing to say. Telling someone not to quit their day job is usually in the context of telling people that they won't get the job they want, so they shouldn't quit their day job in order to get that job. But in this case, it is actually Craig's day job. Yeah, but not to worry because he caught himself, and then he showed that he didn't really have a point in the first place, which is starting to become somewhat of a theme.
If you look at the reviews,
which I guess is a philosopher.
Is respected in his field.
Quit your day job.
But
yeah, now let's go ahead and see how much the lack of philosophical training that TJ has is paying off.
Intellectuals who do not believe at all.
Certainly there are, Michael, but there has also been, especially over the last 50 years, since the late 1960s, a literal revolution in my discipline, philosophy, in the Anglo-American world, which has brought about a renaissance of Christian philosophy, such that some of our finest...
yeah, that you guys remember this remember the Renaissance, dude. That renaissance of Christian philosophy, dude. It's been a renaissance of Christian philosophy, dude. Renaissance. Yeah, that was such a good appeal to authority. He's so right.
If only he could get a refund on his lack of philosophical training, because that wasn't an appeal to authority. But we're gonna get back to that here in a minute.
Top universities in America and England who are outspoken Christians, such that the face of my discipline, compared to the 1930s and 40s, when Russell and Eyre were dominant, has been utterly transformed. Best philosophers at our most prestigious universities are now outspoken Bible-believing Christians.
Sir?
Where is this philosophical revolution taking place?
In the Anglo-American realm.
In the mind of William Lane Craig.
In the mind of William Lane Craig. Is that right? As if the only place that this is happening is inside the mind of William Lane Craig. This is what makes me think that TJ is confused about reality, which is why he would benefit from studying philosophy, because what Craig is talking about is a fact. It's not just in the mind of William Lane Craig. Now I want you to listen to how Craig proceeds in giving the reasons to support his claim that there's a renaissance in Christian philosophy, and then watch how TJ takes those same reasons in order to strawman Craig.
People like Bertrand Russell, who really dominate. Like, I'm sorry, I just never have heard
What was the first
this.
thing you said?
I think you meant air.
Oh, Frank
A.J. Ayer.
A.J. Ayer.
Oh, you mispronounced
That's
it.
a bygone
Oh,
generation.
I'm
Michael,
right.
I'm talking about.
Except for they didn't make fun of him for mispronouncing it, nor did they take that to mean that they're right. So yeah, not really the best impersonation.
Okay, let's talk about people from today, like Quine, right?
He's dead too.
Well, he died only a couple of years, like
So
a
did
few
Freddie,
years
yeah,
ago.
but I mean...
Let's talk
AJ.
about, let's name names, people like Richard Swinburne at Oxford University.
Oh my God, the
Robert and
Richard
Marilyn Adams
Swinburne.
at Oxford. Brian Leftow at Oxford.
Brian Leftow,
people like
dude.
Alvin Planning at University
Oh.
of Peter
Yep.
Van Inwagen.
Yep. Oh my God.
Dallas Willard.
Oh, his
Eleanor
appeal to
Stuff.
authority
I
is
could
so
go
much
on and on
stronger, you
naming-
guys. Oh, that atheist couldn't summon an appeal to authority for but listen to William Lane Craig appealing to authority so hard. That atheist just got wrecked. Wrecked! Oh my God, he's wrecked.
All right, let's not get ahead of ourselves here, Happy Feet. All right, let's talk about this appeal to authority. I mean, here we have a guy making a video about how unnecessary it is to study philosophy, and then he proceeds to quote a fallacy incorrectly. Imagine my shock. So first off, roughly speaking, an appeal to authority is stating that the reason that something is true is only because an authority says so. And to see why TJ's wrong, all you have to do is recall why Craig mentioned the names of the philosophers in the first place. If you go back and watch the clip again, you'll see that Craig mentioned their names in response to the debater challenging him about the Renaissance in Christian philosophy, and it was the debater who started using names to counter Craig's claim about the Renaissance in Christian philosophy. So Craig wasn't guilty of the fallacy of appealing to authority because Craig didn't say that something is true simply because an authority said so. Come on now, TJ. Calling Christians dumb? Not a good look, my dude. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and listen to how beautiful of a straw man TJ creates so that way he can beat the crap out of it and then claim victory.
Yeah, I mean, aren't you convinced that God exists now? I love taking all the Christian spew and just thinking about it in terms of, oh, does what they're saying right now prove there's a God? Well, you know, a lot of top philosophers at big universities are Christians. Oh, so God is real now, right? Yeah, that makes God real. Now all of a sudden your fantasy is true. So what? If a bunch of philosophers at these schools start worshiping Odin, does that mean Odin's real? You know, or maybe they'll start worshiping cheese, like I said earlier. You know, we're gonna have a cheese-based religion. That sounds better than Christianity. You know.
But notice how confused TJ got that quick. TJ forgot that Craig was actually responding to the atheist debater about the Renaissance in Christian philosophy, but instead, TJ assumed that Craig was mentioning the names in order to prove that Christianity is true. Now, if you have a memory better than that of a goldfish, you know that that wasn't Craig's conclusion at all. TJ actually invented that argument out of thin air, one that Craig never made, and then TJ went on to attack it as if he was actually attacking one of Craig's points, but it was something that Craig never said or insinuated. That is what we call a straw man, something else that TJ would have learned in philosophy. I hope now you're starting to see why you shouldn't get your logic, your theology, or your philosophy from a YouTube atheist. So today we've come to see that the only thing amazing about this atheist is his channel name, and possibly the fact that he has over 1 million subscribers.
So with that being said, we know that the amazing atheist is in fact a Satanist. How do we know that? It's because what he has presented. So it's not only like the imagery that you put out there that connects him to Satanism, which you clearly see right here. He has a inverted pentagram on his show. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yo, how's that atheism? You know what I'm saying? If you are supposed to be rejecting God, how then are you, or you don't acknowledge or believe in a God, but you have inverted pentagram? That's crazy, because that's the Satanic Bible. It's it's right on the Satanic Bible, and I'm like, you might as well came up here with a damn Christian cross on. Like, what the hell's going on? You know what I'm saying? If you're an atheist, you are not supposed to be dealing with any supreme being. Like, you don't believe in the existence of a supreme being, but Satan is the supreme evil. So he is a supreme. He's just not supreme good. He's a supreme evil. Okay, but it is still supreme. Literally, God and Satan match up in numerology. They both equal out to 14. Okay, they both equal out to 14. And if you do 1 times 4, that's 4. So we might as well just say 4, or you could even say 5. So God would equal out to 4 and 5, depending on, you know, the numerology you're using. Let me make sure I'm still recording. Alright, yeah, I still should be recording. So depending on what numerology you're using, God and Satan are one and the same. Okay? So there's a particular Satan worshiper known as Aleister Crowley. And Aleister Crowley is pretty much the forefather of all these new Freemasons, especially these satanic Freemasons who are in the higher levels of Freemasonry in what's known as the Shrine. And within the Shrine, there's a higher called the Order of Jesters. Go look up the Order of Jesters if you like. I'll be doing a video on them later when I do more Freemason exposés. But for right now, we're going to focus on TJ. And TJ has a question for us about the transvestigation, and wanted to dive in on transvestigations while we're talking about it. So transvestigations was a pretty big thing maybe last year, maybe a couple years before. I mean, not, you know, make light of it, right? It was a real big thing, and it still is a pretty big thing on YouTube. However, the YouTube censorship, you know, has been so ridiculous, you know what I'm saying? They've been taking all those videos, everybody who's been telling the truth, you know, literally it's the truth, you know, all those who've done transvestigations, who've taken a long look at some of these so-called celebrities and made their, I won't even say made their opinions, but made suggestions, or, you know, just flat out just showing pictures, because you can't say nothing. Okay, so usually these editors or these content creators would create these slideshows, you know what I'm saying, just giving the general public the option to comment below what they think. And even a lot of those videos are getting removed, even though there's not no saying of anything, but just simply showing a transvestigation being in progress, and just giving the general public the option of making their own determinations as far as what their own eyes see, not by what somebody's telling them. And I got another video about my first video, or in response to my first video, or a continuation of my first video. Not my first video, but one of my first videos on the subject of real women being transgender. Now, if you don't do the etymology, you won't comprehend why that is an absolute true statement. Now, there is no such thing as a so-called real versus fake biological woman, because woman means man, okay? It means wife man. So woman and man are the same thing. They're synonymous, okay? Man and woman are synonymous. Now, there's different characteristics, or, you know, different aspects of these titles or identities or mannerisms or whatever it is you want to label the actions of a sodomite. You know, especially the one who would use a veil, makeup to cover who they really are, to be able to mingle their way or sneak their way into your life via using makeup to cover themselves, to trick you or trick your senses.
When you really look at the evidence, the truth is it takes more faith to be an atheist than it does to believe in God. You've really got to ignore the facts. It's funny how we equate the word atheism with intellectual, when it's the exact opposite. That's right. Kirk, I have an intellectually stimulating theory. It's my theory of where the soda can may have come from. Billions of years ago, there was a big bang in space. Nobody knows what caused the big bang. It just happened. From this bang issued this huge rock. On top of the rock was found a sweet, brown, bubbly substance. And over millions of years, aluminum crept up the side, formed itself in a can, then a lid, and then a tab. And then millions of years later, red paint, blue paint, white paint fell from the sky and formed itself into the words, 12 fluid ounces, do not litter. You're saying, what are you doing? You're insulting my intellect. And so I am. Because we know if the can is made, there must be a maker. If it's designed, there must be a designer. To believe the soda can happened by chance is to move into an intellectual free zone. It's to have an echo when you think. It's to have brain liposuction. Hold this, Kirk. Behold the atheist's nightmare. Now, if you study a well-made banana, you'll find on the far side there are 3 ridges. On the close side, 2 ridges. If you get your hand ready to grip a banana, you'll find on the far side there are 3 grooves, on the close side 2 grooves. The banana and the hand are perfectly made one for the other. You'll find the maker of the banana, Almighty God, has made it with a non-slip surface. It has outward indicators of inward contents: green, too early; yellow, just right; black, too late. Now, if you go to the top of the banana, you'll find, as with the soda can makers, they placed a tab at the top. So God has placed a tab at the top. When you pull the tab, the contents don't squirt in your face. You'll find the wrapper, which is biodegradable, has perforations. Notice how gracefully it sits over the human hand. Notice it has a point at the top for ease of entry. It's just the right shape for the human mouth. It's chewy, easy to digest, and it's even curved toward the face to make the whole process so much easier. Seriously, Kirk, the whole of creation testifies to the genius of God's creative hand.
It absolutely does. You think of the human eye. It has 40,000 nerve endings and focusing muscles that move more than 100,000 times a day. The human eye has over 137 million light-sensitive cells. And even Charles Darwin himself said,
"To suppose that the eye could have been formed by natural selection seems, I freely confess, absurd in the highest degree."
Behold the atheist's nightmare.
So for those of you who haven't heard, I've recently become embroiled in a sex scandal involving chocolate syrup, hot coffee, and a banana, which apparently is the atheist's worst nightmare. Ray Comfort, you truly are a prophet.
Alrighty, a couple days ago I received comments telling me that Amazing Atheist likes to shove bananas in his ass. I had no clue what the fuck the people were talking about. I checked this out on YouTube. Okay, this is like a timeline pic, so let's look at this shit. In the first pic, he's lying down. He's looking at his dick, but you can't even fucking see his dick. It looks like a little marble. Holy fuck! Amazing Atheist has a small motherfucking dick. That's the smallest dick I've ever seen in my entire life from watching pornos, etc. I thought my dick was small. This motherfucker makes me look like King Kong, for fuck's sakes. It looks like a nipple. Holy shit. Okay, in the second part, he's pouring a teapot or something on his stomach. I guess this is what atheists do on their spare time. In the third frame, you don't really see shit. In the fourth frame, he has something leaking out of his ass. It looks like he has a dirty ass. Oh, like, oh god, I don't know. Okay, in the fifth picture, he's smudging brown shit all over his ass. Now his ass is covered in fucking shit, or God knows what the fuck it is there. Then in the other, you see like a jug of milk with a tiny cock. Oh my God, now he's lying in bed, his ass is clean. He's shoving a banana inside his asshole. Oh my God. This is disgusting, what the fuck? Oh, the banana's all over his ass, now it's stuck all the way inside his ass with his fingers stuck in his ass. Holy fuck, man. Straight up, this motherfucker has the tiniest fucking penis in the whole fucking world. Now this might be why Amazing Atheist hates God, or he doesn't like God, because he has a tiny motherfucking dick. Maybe he thought that the Lord can't exist if he blessed him with a tiny cock. Oh my God. The Amazing Atheist shoving a banana up his ass. That explains why he always defends, fuck it, I'm not even gonna go there. But yeah, this is disgusting. The motherfucking big shot atheist on YouTube, the Richard Dawkins wannabe shoving a banana in his ass. This is horrible. Okay?
Hey guys, welcome to Watchdog Central. Now, as a lot of my subscribers probably know, I'm open to watching a lot of various fucked up shit on the internet, porn sites, blah blah blah, whatever. I have just sat down and watched probably one of the most disturbing videos I've ever seen. It's labelled Amazing Atheist Pours Scalding Oil on His Micro Penis. Now, if you want to watch this video, it's on a website called Pornhub, which is a very popular pornographic website. Now, I'm not sure exactly what reasons he had for actually producing or making this video. I presume it was meant as like the Banana Gate, wasn't meant to get out, wasn't meant to get out. Is he doing it just for drama or attention? But I'm gonna sit down now and watch it again. Okay, let's do this.
It's a lot hotter than the oil I poured in my ass, so I'm having to take after this.
Why would you pour it over your balls and dick like that for? Fucking nasty shit, man. He's just taking a little bit of a break and he's going to do it again. He's obviously in some form of pain. Why would you do this to your bollocks for and put it over your dick? You're going to be in agony with this shit. Okay, he's now getting on his knees. With
some oil left.
He's still got some more left. Okay, he's now teabagging his bollocks. Oh! Sorry, laughing. I actually find this shit hilarious. I mean, most men might want to teabag in a girlfriend's mouth or something. You can understand that because there's a pleasure in that. But teabagging your bollocks into a fucking saucepan full of hot oil. What the fuck is wrong with you, man? That's fucked up, man.
So, a highly personal video of mine leaked onto the internet, and I have no right to complain. I jerked off to the Scarlett Johansson photos that leaked just like everyone else did. So I really have no right to get on camera and cry about this. These are, I guess, transvestigators. They are people who believe that all celebrities are transgender. All of them. Every single one. Totally rational position. Let's take a look.
Okay, so welcome to
Real
hi,
TV
how you doing?
Channel.
What you're witnessing right now is before and after pictures. Your favorite celebrity, that man that you think is a man is actually a woman. That woman that you think is a woman is a man.
All right, so here's my question. To what end? Like, why?
This is Edward Alexander Crowley, also known as Aleister Crowley. He styled himself the wickedest man in the world. He believed himself to be the great beast, and he changed his name to Aleister Crowley so it would add up in both English, Hebrew, and Greek Kabbalah as 666. In 1904, Crowley had a communication with an extraterrestrial being named Iwas. And this being, through his wife, kind of a channeling type operation, brought forth a book that was called the Book of the Law in 1904. And this book declared that the slain and risen God had stepped off the throne and that a new God, the crowned and conquering child, was taking his place. He was a brilliant genius. He could play 8 chess games blindfolded. He was an accomplished poet, mountaineer, painter, writer. He had so many Masonic degrees that you could fill up 5 pages of a book with them. This guy was probably the most highly honored Mason in the world. And he began doing rituals to bring forth this crowned and conquering child. And he began to start what he called the cult of the fascinating child. And in doing this, he uncovered, without knowing it, the royal secret of Masonry. And what happened was, a gentleman came knocking at his door after he published a book. And in this book, it was a book of poetry, and in the book he had made an allusion to something. And this guy, his name was Theodore Royce. He was a German occultist and the head of the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis, which stands for the Order of Eastern Templars. There's the Knights Templar again. And this Theodore Royce told Crowley that he had given away the greatest secret in occult history. And Crowley said, "What do you mean? I don't even understand it." So the guy promptly initiated him on the spot to the 9th degree of the OTO and then explained the secret to him. And you're about to learn what this secret is. The secret is that as a Mason, you are promised immortality. Where do they get their promise of immortality? Simply, the secret that Crowley uncovered, probably through demonic intervention, is the secret that this immortality is conveyed through tantric sex magic. And the kind of sex magic that we're talking about here, unfortunately, is a sexual violation of a little child. Crowley taught that the way you could live forever was by vampirizing little children sexually. And this, I apologize that this is so horrible, but Masons are doing this. Not all Masons, please understand me. Probably 1 in 100 knows about this. But this is a significant enough problem that I feel compelled to share it with you. This is why the Masons believe that they will live forever. They think every time they defile a little child, they steal some of that child's youth. What happens then is they believe that they are accessing alternate universes, alternate realities where they can become as gods. Everything in magic, like everything in the occult, has its yin and yang. It's positive and it's negative, it's good and evil. There's always this dynamism. And so therefore, just like there is a tree of life, there is also a tree of evil. This is called the Qliphote in Hebrew, which translated means harlots. Here is what is ultimately involved. There is a belief that through this sexual perversion, they can access these tunnels into alternate universes, alternate realities. And the goal of this kind of magic is to find your own universe and become the god over that universe. This buys into the modern day physics theory that there's many, many dimensions of reality. Maybe you've read about that. Alternate universes. It shows up in science fiction a lot. And then once you're the god of this universe, you can start sucking the energy out of it. And you can use that energy through this child to live forever and ever and ever. And there are men, I have met several that claim to be hundreds of years old. And this broad genre of magic is called, and here's a nice big word for you, Transuguthian magic. And all that means is it's magic that goes into trans-Plutonian space. Space beyond the planet Pluto, which they believe is beyond the pale of the sun and therefore beyond the pale of the Judeo-Christian God. They believe there are gods out beyond Pluto that are far more powerful and far more dangerous and far more deadly than either God or the devil. And that's what these beings, these men, are trying to access. I mean, this is such a problem that we are actually, I now know of 5 national support groups that are helping people that are survivors of Masonic ritual abuse.
You come from generations of ritualistic abuse?
Yes, my family has an extensive family tree, and they keep track of who's been involved and who hasn't been involved. And it's gone back to like 1700.
And so you were...
Right. I was born into a family that believes in this.
And does everyone else think it's a nice Jewish family? From the outside, you appear to be a nice Jewish girl?
Definitely.
And you all are worshiping the devil inside the home?
Right. There's other Jewish families across the country. It's not just my own family.
Really? Well, when you were brought up in this kind of evilness, did you just think it was normal?
I've blocked out a lot of the memories I had because of my multiple personality disorder. But yes, I mean, it's like if you grow up with something, you think it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought
So what kinds of things? You don't have to give us the gory details, but what kinds of things went on in the family?
Well, there would be rituals in which babies would be sacrificed, and you would have to, you know...
Whose babies?
There were people who bred babies in their family. No one would know about it. A lot of people were overweight, so you couldn't tell if they were pregnant or not, or they would supposedly go away for a while and then come back.
You witnessed the sacrifice?
Right. When I was very young, I was forced to participate in that, in which I had to sacrifice an infant.
And the purpose of sacrifice is to what? Is to bring you what? What are you sacrificing for?
For power.
Uh-huh. Power. And so, were you ever used? Were you ever used yourself?
I was molested. I was raped several times.
Mm-hmm. And what's your mother doing?
She's...
In all of this? What's her role in all of this?
I'm not exactly what her role is. I haven't, recovered all of my memories, but her family was extremely involved.
Mm-hmm.
She brought me to it.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my parents brought me to it. And she's an upstanding citizen. Nobody would suspect her.
Were you raised with a sense of right and wrong, Rachel?
Yes. I mean, it's like I had both. I mean, to the outside world, everything we did was proper and right, and then there were the nights that things changed, that things just got turned around. What was wrong was right, and what was right was wrong. There's a book that I had just come across called Lilith's Cave, which is a book of Jewish mysticism and supernatural, and there's a lot in that book that relates to what I, endured when I was a child.
I have joining me today Dr. and Rabbi Marvin Antelman. Welcome to the show, Rabbi.
Thank you very much for having me here. First of all, let me say this. There are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. I'm not interested in theories. I'm interested in facts. So the scholarship over the years that I've utilized are sources that are impeccable. A man by the name of Shabbatai Tzvi, who was born in 1626 and died in 1676, came along and said, I am the Messiah. And he had a tremendous following. When it was realized that his following was so great, there would be problems, the Sultan gave Shabbatai a choice. Either you die or convert to Islam. So he converted. Now, there were about 1 million followers prior to the conversion. When the conversion happened, then there was disillusionment among the Jews. But there were some diehard people who set up different cults of Shabbatai Tzvi. And the worst one of them was called the Domeh, which was a secret organization. And the Domeh was based in Turkey and in Salonika. And the Domeh gave rise to these terrible orgies that went on, which became part of the immorality theology of Shabtai Tzvi corrupted later on. He apostatized himself 10 years before his death. So when he died in 1676, he had these cults doing all kinds of evil.
And the reason that these followers of Shabtai Tzvi were doing evil was because what?
Here's the thing. The Talmud says that the Messiah would come when everybody's good or everybody's bad. There is such a saying in the Talmud. So the Sabbateans said like this: it's impossible for everybody to be good, it's easy to be bad. So they turned around the Torah and they said, if you do an evil deed, then you will use up the energy of the universe, and it'll collapse, and you'll force the Messiah to come because you will have used up all the evil in the world. So whenever they engage in an orgy, they would make a bracha, and every day they would figure out a way to do as many sins as possible. Like if you eat chaylev, you're chayav karet. In other words, if you eat fat, according to the Torah, you're to be excommunicated from your people. So they would eat fat that was prohibited, non-kosher fat, from a kosher animal, which is chaylev, which is in that category, like eating blood from a kosher animal.
So they would dafka do the opposite.
They do the opposite
in order to hasten the
coming of the Messiah. After Shabtai Tzvi died, one of the most powerful Sabbatian cults, as they were called, was a transformation of the Domeh, the most extreme cult, to Europe through an insidious person by the name of Jacob Frank. He died in 1791. Now the Frankists started to spread and take over entire communities and make them satanic. And you can actually trace a line historically, which I do in my book, to the CFR from Shabtai Tzvi, and another organization called the Illuminati, which was founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt. And they were involved also in the French Revolution, which is also well documented.
So what you're saying is that there really does exist a new world order, that it's not a conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy.
Right, and Professor Katz wrote a book called The Jews and Freemasonry, which gives a history of the interface between Jews and some of the cults that derived out of Shabtai Tzvi. But the next big cult that came from Shabtai Tzvi after the Domeh organization, which was in Turkey, the next big cult were the Frankists, as I mentioned with Jacob Frank. So Jacob Frank, the Vad Arba Ratzah, the Council of Four Lands, wanted to deal with Frank, and they decided to have a big excommunication on the 20th of Sivan 250 years ago. And there they made the following rulings. They said everybody that is a Frankist is to be excommunicated.
From the Jewish people.
From the Jewish people, bastards to the 10th generation, is what it said. And they prohibited people, because the Frankists were into Kabbalah, they prohibited the study of Kabbalah until you were 30 or 40 years old and you had a belly full, as they said, full of Talmud. Only then could you study the Kabbalah.
Right.
And they said they're women or whores, and they're hereby excommunicated from our people to the 10th generation.
This is what the Council of Four Lands labeled the Frankists, because they so deviated from Judaism and all that Judaism holds to be true and righteous. These people went off and made basically their own deformed religion, and so the Jews wanted nothing to do with them. They kicked them out.
That is correct.
Okay. Are there non-Jews that joined this Sabbatian cult?
No, non-Jews did not join the Sabbatian cult, but the non-Jews did join the Illuminati.
Police sources tell me this isn't the first time a sex party has taken place behind me, a claim that Freemasons I spoke to today deny. They say they do not stand for this. It's a secretive organization sitting right next door to the Battle Creek Police Department and the county courthouse. Police sources described to us an out-of-control sex party scene. Police sources told us the first officer to walk inside was shocked to find a couple performing a lewd sex act right in front of him, along with multiple nude women, drugs, and men videotaping it all behind these closed doors. Charlie told me Freemasons don't go on camera, and he didn't know about the multiple arrests that were made that night. He heard a rumor that night there was some nudity, and when he went to the facility at about 1 in the morning to check the party out, he didn't see anything wrong. Sometime after that, police arrived. He says this is not what they stand for.
5 pages of a book with them. This guy was probably the most highly honored Mason in the world.
Like, why?
And we have a lot to go on that, and actually that would be another subject I'm gonna touch on my next video. So make sure y'all check that out. I'm gonna try to keep the commentary a little more brief. I'm gonna chop this up, and hopefully after everything's said and done, I could just plop this out and have a great video here for y'all. With that being said, thank y'all for watching Last of the Trail. Peace, love, and light. White power.